We're going to talk about 5 things I wish I knew before I became a foster parent. Hello and welcome, my name is Sarah and I am a short-term foster carer. I've been a foster parent for about 4 or 5 years now. I currently don't have any children with me. I am enjoying a little bit of a break because we're getting some renovation works done on the house. But this topic of things I wish I'd known before I became a foster carer, I mean, there are a lot. I have so many more than 5, so I'll probably share some more in a future video. But if you do have any of your own things that you wish you'd have known, make sure you leave them down below in the comments. The first thing that I wish I knew was that there's no such thing as like a typical foster family. Like myself, I am a single mum to my own 17-year-old son. I'm not married, I don't have a partner. I own my own home, but you don't need to own your own home. There's so many different types of people who I have met during my journey as being a foster parent that I didn't know that these types of people could be foster parents before. And I do think along with that goes that I didn't really understand how the foster system worked in that you can be a long-term foster carer, so you take children on permanently. You can be I'm a short term. I don't want to have long-term children. I want to do fostering as a short term, which means take children for 6 months, 8 months, around that sort of time frame, and then they move on. You can be like a respite foster care where you just foster at the weekend, and I didn't know all of these things existed. And I think that if people did understand fostering a little bit more, then more people would do it. The second thing that I wish I knew was that it is okay to say no. Definitely, in the beginning, I wasn't that I was afraid to say no, it was that you just don't feel like, it's a thing that I still struggle with, in all honesty, that saying no is okay. And when I say that, I mean like that could be saying no to a placement. Maybe you get a call for some children that you hear their story, or you hear things about it, you think, I don't think that fits well with our family. It's okay to say no to that. It's okay, like when you have a placement, when you have children with you, they will, let me tell you, like social workers will forever be trying to get you to do things that maybe you don't feel that you should. That's just the nature. They just will. They will try and pull on your heartstrings to do certain things. And I think I mean, for me, it's come with time, and again, I say it's still really quite difficult because I'm definitely a people pleaser. I want to please people, but then I've been asked so many things over my few years in fostering, and initially I was always like, oh yeah, I can do that. And then over the time, and this for me, it just comes with experience, and it's like, actually, I'm going to stand up a little bit more here. One, I have absolutely got to be an advocate for the child. If something I don't believe is in their best interest, I have to say, hang on, no, this isn't happening. But also for the happiness of the whole family, that it's okay to say no, and you will be pressured into saying yes to do things. For me, as a single woman, there are certain situations that I feel more vulnerable in, and I'm not going to say yes to them just to, potentially make a social worker's job that little bit easier. So I've definitely learned that I can say no to things, and it's important to say no to things. The third thing that I wish I knew was how, I'm not sure that awkward is the right word, but meeting the child's parents, their birth parents, you're highly likely to, especially if you have children for short term. You potentially probably going to be taking them to contact 2-3 times a week, and you'll be seeing their parents. Awkward, I don't know whether awkward is the right way to phrase that, but I wish I'd understood sort of that whole intense relationship of what it is. I have been, again, I don't know whether lucky is the right word, but I've been very lucky in my experience so far, is that I think that I have built really positive, strong relationships with all of the parents of the children that I've had, and I guess I didn't know how that would be. I didn't really understand about how often you potentially will be seeing them, that when I've dropped them off at contact, sometimes we're sitting there 3 times a week for kind of 10 minutes before we go into the room, and it's kind of nice that we have that time, in all honesty. I think it's nice that we get to have a bit of a chat about things that have been going on. They're still their parents, you know. Fostering, the aim is reunification. We want them to go back to the parents if that's at all possible, and so to be able to update parents on things that are going on in the child's life whilst they're unfortunately not being able to be there for them full time, that's been really invaluable, I think, to the parents, and it's been good for the children as well, and for the child to see me and their parents sort of getting on and talking. Again, it's only positive for the children. I was definitely nervous, and I still am nervous when I meet new parents, but meeting my first set of parents, I was really, really nervous about how they would react to me. And honestly, I've not received any bad reaction from any parent thus far. I'm sure it does happen, maybe it will happen to me in the future, but as I say, I've always built up a really good relationship with them, and I think it's because you have to come from a place. I was scared, honestly, of sort of my own judgments. You hear these stories and you think, you will sort of, human nature, you can't help but place judgment on how they're in this situation, what's happened, and you will judge the parents, you will judge them. I think that's, like I say, it's human nature to do that. But then I have learned over the years to then take a step back from that and to realise that, you know, for one, my judgment on the situation means nothing. It makes no difference. Makes no positive impact. And so to go into these situations with so much empathy for the parents and for the families that, you know, they all at the end of the day, they loved their children, their child, and they didn't want to be in this position. They don't want to be in this position. I think that we could all, for the grace of God, go I, that we could all end up in situations like that through no fault of our own. You know, addictions can come to anyone, you know, and, you know, bad relationships and just things, the reasons why these children have come into foster care. These things can unfortunately happen to anyone, and I think that to take that judgment away and to just go with so much compassion and empathy for what is happening. And I just think it's so important. I've talked before about building positive relationship with parents. I just think it's so important, and it's something that I just really didn't understand before I got into this, of how can I talk to these people. I remember thinking, like, you know, if this situation happens, like, you learn about the child's story, how on earth am I going to be able to sit and talk to these people? What if once I've learned some potentially horrific things that they've done? And you know what, you just do. You have to take that judgment away, and you have to realise that, you know, if they're fighting to get their child back, they do love their child. I've never seen a parent yet that, you know, didn't love their child and want to do better. Unfortunately, sometimes these people just don't know how to do better. And so yeah, relationships with the child's parents, I wish I'd sort of understood that a little bit more. The fourth thing I wish I'd known about is on a more practical level, that don't bring loads of stuff into your house in preparation for children, because it could be a complete waste. I know people, you know, you get a phone call and maybe a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old are coming, or, you know, whatever ages, of whatever sex, and they arrive. So you go out and you buy some clothes, you buy some stuff for them, and they come, and, you know, this 3-year-old is the size of they're not in 3 to 4 age clothes, they're in age 18-month clothes, or, you know, it could be vice versa. Maybe you have a girl, maybe you buy some dresses for or something, and actually they're like, no, all I wear is jeans. Or so I know that lots of people sort of, they prepare like a bedroom, for example. I've done it myself, where I've put sort of very gender stereotypical, but I've got a girl coming, so I put on some kind of girly bedding, and they arrive, I was like, no, I don't like that. So okay, that's okay, because I do have it in my cupboard, my own cupboard. I do have like 3 sets of, well, yeah, 3 sets of what I would say is typical, very typical. Maybe I'm not allowed to say that these days, but typical sort of boy girl bed sheets. And I have a range of them, and so if the child has an opinion, they can just change it around. It's fine. There's something that I do store, but I don't have a load of things anymore, and I don't go rush out to get a load of things, because 1, you don't know what they're going to come with, and 2, you've no idea whether any of it is going to be appropriate at all in terms of, particularly when we talk about clothes, like fitting them or the right style for them or whatever. And so I would say wait. Invariably they do come with a little few bits, and these days, let's be real, everything's bloody open 24/7. We can always do like a quick online order, or we can get someone, maybe in our support network that could nip and get us some things, or there's ways around it. So yeah, definitely don't prepare too much. I would say things like toiletries, a toothbrush. I do have little things like that are handy just to have. I do always have some kind of kid-friendly food in my freezer. We don't really typically eat sort of, like chicken nuggets and chips type meals, but I do have those just in the back of my freezer, just to help out, because if they arrive, it's chaos, that's the type of food maybe that they will more than likely like to eat. Like snacks, little like crisps and like bits like that's just useful to have, those types of things. But everything else, I just don't overprepare too much. And the 5th thing that this is not necessarily I wish I knew before I started, but in the beginning when I started fostering, how important it is to make time for yourself as a caregiver. The old saying of, you can't fill from an empty cup is never true enough. Than when you talk about fostering, it is extremely emotionally draining. It really, really does take it out of you. There's no getting away from it. It's difficult. You're dealing with difficult conversations and difficult behaviours potentially, and it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's 24/7. This child comes to live with you, and they're in your home. It's not a job that you clock off from, at 5 o'clock at the end of the day. It is full time, and it is intense, and it's so important to make time. There's definitely, I've talked about it before, I go through like a grieving process when new children arrive, of you sort of like, you grieve the life that you had when you didn't have children. When I think about my life now that I don't have children, I'm able to spend so much more time with Stephen, and we do so much more together, my son, and I go for hikes, and I do things that I love to do, that when children arrive, that just gets, all of a sudden that just gets taken away from me, and I struggle with that, and you have to sort of go through that grieving process of what was. And it is so important to make sure that you look after yourself. For me, like hiking is a big one, that when I do have children, I try to organise just for, one afternoon. I can't do it as much as I can do without children, of course I can't, but maybe one afternoon a month that, someone can look after them for a couple of hours whilst I go for a hike. Just whatever is important to you, you should still try to do those things when you have children. If you are in a relationship, if you're married, make time for each other, have a date night, or whatever you do, because fostering is all consuming. It really is all consuming, and it's important to get those little moments in the week, in the day, where there's time for you. And they are my 5 things for today that I wish I knew before I started fostering. Like I said at the beginning, if you've got any of your own, definitely leave them down below in the comments. I've got loads more. I could probably sit for hours and hours and hours and talk about this subject, but for now I am gonna shut up. Thank you so much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, if it helped you out in some way, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.